everybody. Welcome to Hypergraph Hour. It's been a couple weeks since we've done a Hypergraph Hour, and as all of you know, we use this time to kind of introduce partnerships, introduce our roadmap. Last time, Matthias broke down kind of where the market, where his market insights are, and how to read some trading charts and how that impacts DAG. And over the past couple of weeks, they've actually been doing a lot of releases. We had a launch with Lattice where we released our KYC, which will be applicable to Lattice Lending, and our Lattice Launchpad, which is slated to be released within a month. And we have amazing things going out. We launched Constellation's Get DAG feature in the Stargazer wallet, which people are able to make a tax deductible donation, and in return they receive DAG. And it's been an amazing, so with all these launches and all these successes, I like to take a moment to just like pause and really see kind of what we've done. We actually didn't, to be completely honest, we didn't really know how well it would do. And I know we talked a little bit about it last time, but we've processed about $400,000 worth of donations to date with zero marketing behind us. And it just shows what's exciting is it shows that we're not dependent on third-party centralized exchanges to drive demand and interest in our token, is that we have a really active community that want to consume what we're doing and what we're about. So it's really opened up the doors and talking with many nonprofits on where can we put a lot of these proceeds. So today is one of my favorite days because we're introducing really kind of the leaders of the community in many ways. You all do amazing work and participate and help us grow and share knowledge and your perspective on our ecosystem and technology. But one of the things that we've noticed is that we want a clear communication between the community and the core team. And our organization is growing rapidly. Our core organization right now is about 25 people. And then our decentralized community, is thousands of people, and we need a layer in between. And so with the help of the Stardust Collective, our decentralized governing body, we elected individuals to help us navigate feedback from the community, but also for the core team to provide info and information out to the community. And as such, the community voted on 3 people to build these various pods. And so today we're going to introduce those pod leads that represent 3 different perspectives of our ecosystem and a little bit more of how they help build the ecosystem. And so when we talk about the Constellation ecosystem, one of the interesting strengths that we have is that we care so much about our community and we care about the projects that are being built that we want to help them navigate an ecosystem. I personally have worked with many of the other larger ecosystems in the crypto space. I'm not going to mention names. And it's rather cumbersome to navigate. How do I build a smart contract? How do I raise money? How do I manage that? Over the past 4 years, our team we've done this twice. We've done it successfully twice in building out a token, applying the technology, building out communities. And we want to help make it easy to navigate our ecosystem. And so the people that I'm going to introduce today are those individuals that are looking at all the different perspectives in the crypto space, as well as our ecosystem to help navigate. And so when I think of an ecosystem and our ecosystem specifically, I think of really 4 major aspects into navigating our ecosystem successfully. The first one is transforming your organization. The second one is building your application on a blockchain. And the third one is raising capital in the cryptocurrency space. And the fourth one is launching your token in cryptocurrency and managing the health of that token. And as such, the Constellation ecosystem is really building out solutions along the way to make it easy. So in order to express interest and navigate interest, the transforming phase, really, we opened up to hear from the community who wanted to build L0 projects. And as such, we've received, I think, a little over 80 submissions today. And in the transformation phase, the pod leads are kind of looking at different projects. And we're looking at the projects as what can help us further build out our ecosystem. Who really understands our technology? And what are different technologies that can amplify the growth of Hypergraph? And so as we start to look at these companies, we start to create viable tracks for them to build. The first track is really letting people just build on our open source technology. Those will be state channels that will provide documentation later this year that anybody can go out and build. And then from what we've seen on the L0 project submissions is that we have an overwhelming amount of people that are looking for advisory services, our knowledge, our info on how best to build their business, understand their mission, and navigate our ecosystem further. So we're pretty excited is that we're going to be announcing the launch of the Constellation Accelerator program in the coming weeks from all the people that have listed their L0 project. And we're going to invite them to be a part of a 10-week curriculum that helps them develop their tokenomics, their white paper, and really mature their MVP so that it really articulates the hypergraph. And the third real bucket that people get involved with Constellation is the incubation. This is a white glove process where companies that already have a business idea, they already have advisors, they already have funding, they already have revenue, but they really want to build a token economy, but can't do that on Ethereum because of high gas fees, volatile fees that on the blockchain. They're looking towards an economically scalable blockchain infrastructure like Constellation. And so these three kind of pillars are how people build and access our network. And once we kind of define those companies that are building, or we see what they're building, and they get to a mature point with their white paper, that's when we start to introduce the Lattice Launchpad. So you've kind of ironed out the details of your tokenomics. Now you're ready to launch in the Lattice Launchpad and attract backers. So the Lattice Launchpad will be that kind of next stage that people will automatically be able to go to. And it's not just people that are building on Constellation, but really anybody that's looking for backing. We're going to provide a viable track for people to list on the Lattice Launchpad and people to back different projects that are listing. We're very excited about this. Alchemy Exchange is one of the projects that are building us, will be one of the first people to be listed on the Lattice Launchpad. But once you then raise your capital, it's now up to you to launch your token. And so once you launch your token, there's treasury management, there's token health and making sure that the markets are viable. But then there's also the ability to do cross-chain swaps. We want people to be able to freely exchange that token, back that token, provide liquidity, and we're going to be able to achieve all of that on the Lattice Exchange. And so this is really how we think about our ecosystem. So now the individuals that I'm going to introduce right now represent three different perspectives from our ecosystem on what we're looking for. And these individuals have created teams behind them, which really show our kind of force of decentralization. And their goal is to help projects as well as the core organization further achieve scalability like no tomorrow. So it's my pleasure to introduce the business pod, the community pod, and the product pod, and the various leads today. I'll hand it all over to Altif or Thomas or Lyndon, who represent the respective pod leads.
Here, Ben, I'll read the mission of the Stardust Collective, and then we can pass it over to Lyndon. So Great. The mission of the collective is to ensure the permanence of the Constellation ecosystem in the mass market. The Stardust Collective seeks to advance and evangelize the Hypergraph, its applications, and the DAG token through community-generated initiatives. Thank you. Lyndon, take it over.
Thanks, Ben, for the intro, and thanks, LT, for running that. I'm Lyndon. I'm super excited to share with you what we've been building here for the Business Pod, and what our aims and objectives are. So I became involved with Constellation about 18 months ago with regards to their tokenomics V2. Just briefly, my background is started off with an undergrad degree in astrophysics and then moved into the financial derivatives markets. Worked my way up to become head of Europe for a Wall Street bank, and had a particular interest in systems and algorithms and improving the way things are done, which is how I got involved with Constellation. And the team I'm putting together, we have just got a huge range of experience. We've got 8 people in the team, in the pod. 75% of them run at least one business themselves. We've got finance, economics, software developers, management, legal and compliance, anti-fraud. But I think crucially, we've got people who are happy to be contrarians, people who are happy to put forward a disruptive point of view. And can you put me to the next screen, please, Ben? And all of this becomes important when you think about the strategy of what we're trying to achieve on the business side. Because I love the quote, build it and they will come. Well, Wyatt and the team have built it, but we need to make it easier for everyone to come on board. So that's really where the business side comes in. And not only do we want to make it easy, we want to make all the companies that are on board, we want to give them the highest chance of success. We want to optimize them. So business advisory services from all of our experienced team, and also tailor the tokenomics. Now, I'll come back to that on the next slide. And then we see 2 streams of businesses coming on board. And this is huge down the pipeline. There are going to be, once we get a few mark signings, I mean, we've already got Lattice and Alchemy, which are going to require huge bandwidth. More and more businesses are going to follow. And I can see it as an avalanche, as an exponential growth of these businesses. And we see 2 main streams. One is established projects coming from other chains where the chains just don't have the capacity to give them what they need, or for them to cost it out at a level that can further their business. And then, of course, new projects. We want to encourage datapreneurs. We want to encourage people with an idea to come on board, and we want to help them make that possible. Whether it's a data business, whether it's a payment business, any business, you can come to us, and we've got some expertise in that business. And we won't be afraid to reach out to the community for more. Next slide, please. So what do we actually do in the Business Pod? Well, we're just up and running as of last week. We'll be looking at all of the applications for projects. We'll be going through those, and we'll be assessing them and looking where we can assist, feeding back to them. Some businesses may need only a small amount of help. Some may need more hands-on. We can do that if people want, if businesses want. We want to develop a tokenomic structure which is contemporary. 2017 and before, people raised money, they offered tokens, and there was really no use for a lot of the tokens. But now we see so many different categories. We see tokens with that can contract and increase the supply. We see tokens that are stable coins, tokens with mechanisms to keep them stable. We see utility tokens, peg tokens, payment tokens. We want to tailor your tokenomics to your business. So the tokenomics is a selling point, not just an aside. So the light bulb goes off. This is why we need Constellation. This is why we need crypto. So to do that, we are going to template them. So the first few will be more hands-on. And then as we see what we are seeing regular of, if it's a payment service or a utility, we say, these are tokenomics models that will work nicely for you with a few tweaks. So that's how we handle the tokenomics. I've already been in process putting those models together. We also have 3 of the 9 votes on the Stardust Collective. We are your community. We are from the community, and we will be interfacing more and more now with the community. And if you've got questions for the call and you can't get through, you can come through us. We'll be providing in the next weeks, days, we'll be providing contacts to make it very easy for you to ask questions and get answers. Final slide, please. So what to expect? Well, optimized projects are more likely to be successful. They're more likely to grow the ecosystem, word of mouth, and just people seeing it works. Everybody benefits, generative economics at its best. Easy on-ramps for business. There'll be a clear process, very low barriers, and we're going to have clear documentation of what's required. And then we're going to ask questions of you, the community too. We're going to need your help. There's going to be transparency from our side, but we're going to need input from you, the community, and we'll be offering bounties for that, paid from the business pod. We have a business pod node, and those are the funds which we're going to use for bounties and for contributions. So in summary, I'm super excited about where we're going with the business pod. We'll be rotating people in and out of it as we need your business expertise from the community. So see email at the end of this, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm Lindonium on the Telegram, and other contacts for the rest of the team will be forthcoming. All right, thank you. I think I'm handing over to Altif.
Yeah, Lyndon, I just wanted to take a moment and say, Lyndon, the community, I've been able to work with Lyndon for the past, I think 8 months or so, where he reached out to me and had ideas, very, very sound ideas on how to improve our tokenomics, which started really kind of workshops internally that went from us kind of creating a feedback loop, educating each other on each other's perspective, which really helped us identify what was missing in the community. And so his proactive nature and thoughtfulness around the tokenomics, and not just kind of copy paste to what's out there, really allowed us a unique working relationship. And we wouldn't be here today on our tokenomics and what we're trying to achieve if it weren't for Lyndon. His knowledge is just most amazing thing ever, and he is really kind of leaning into every project that we're working on to make sure it kind of fits the need of the evolution of the space. So thank you, Lyndon.
Thanks, Ben, that's lovely.
So it is up to me. Hello, everyone. I am Altif Brown. Many of you know me, but I'll give you a quick background. So I've worked in community management and building across Silicon Valley for years and years and years, managing and scaling communities up from hundreds of people to millions of people, before co-founding Constellation with these lovely men that you all know, and building the Constellation community from 0 to being live in a little bit over 90 countries. And now I lead the community strategy over at the Stardust Collective, alongside Viking and Nando, and I'll give them a little spotlight. So Nando, who many of you know the voice of in a lot of our videos, he's a musical composer and producer, and has a music studio, a post-production audio studio in Amsterdam, mainly works with big brands such as Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, Adidas, but also has produced incredible scores for famous movies, as well as tracks for celebrities such as Lionel Richie. And now kind of leads our content pod, or like a sub pod focused on content for Constellation. And Viking is in every channel on Telegram and everywhere you will see him. And so, but a little information about him is he has a master's degree in visual fine arts and product design. And so started crypto back in 2017, selling artworks or crypto artworks around the world, and creating and curating communities. Now he leads the community over at the Alchemy Exchange, as well as is one of my trusted advisors over at the Stardust Collective. And then also, like Lyndon's team, we have several other people joining that are on the community pod, ranging from open source specialists to people dealing with merch, et cetera, that hopefully you'll all meet. Next slide, please. Okay, cool. So, so our strategy overall is basically to bring Constellation and its community to all 7 continents. Yes, all 7 of them, with a 2-pronged approach that's focused mainly on the token community and also the technical community, because both of those are absolutely critical to the longevity of Constellation. But also furthermore, given our very novel tokenomic structure, it's not just about DAG by itself, it's also about all of the L0 tokens as well. And that's why you see Viking over at Alchemy, you might see me over Greenheart or someone else somewhere else, because basically we need to reinforce all of the L0 tokens as well as DAG to better support this two-sided economy of scale. Hope that all makes sense. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do we do? So the community pod obviously is focused on acquisition, activation, moderation, and expansion, but I'll kind of dive into it a little bit. I mean, sorry if I'm blitzing through this. So with acquisition, we work really closely with Gina and the broader marketing team, Martian, et cetera, to make sure that traffic is constantly being driven either into the Constellation channels or the channels of the L0 tokens that are using the Hypergraph. And so our concern, it largely is on DAG currently because of the state of everything right now, but as the network scales, so our focus. When it comes to activation, that's more so about making sure that people are staying engaged with the token and the different communities. And so there are a lot of different ways to do that. That could be with events, that could also be merchandise, that can be just making sure the conversations are safe and free of toxic behavior, and bringing on new ways for them to interact with each other as community members, but then also with the individual brands that which they represent. And moderation seems very like, oh, you know, you add in like some new admins here or there, but it's more about moderation in the more broader sense. So yes, admins and administration is obviously a key component of everything. But it's also as these communities scale up around the world, making sure that the apparatus itself has some sort of elasticity there. So like right now, we kind of focus on different regions. And so bring on, you know, country managers to manage, you know, France and Italy, but then, you know, Oceania and Eastern Asia, et cetera, to make sure that those individual localized groups have channels to report up to. Because, you know, I don't speak Mandarin. So there's an entire apparatus that needs to be built out across the Asian continent to make sure that those community members are supported if we're going to maintain our 7-continent strategy. And then expansion for this year in particular, mainly focused on bringing back online our global event series in different places, just because, you know, pandemic, all the things have got stopped. So spinning that back up and making sure that there's the support necessary in the relevant regions to support like individual events. If anyone wants to host a meetup, just DM me and I'll help you. And then also, I know there's a lot of talent across the community dealing with merchandise, keychains, t-shirts, beautiful artwork. And so one of my main focuses as right now is kind of unifying and weaving together these disparate groups or people that are building these things into like a hub or like a real like digital mall, if you will, so that people can shop for swag from Constellation, but then also from Stargazer and Alchemy, et cetera, in like one kind of place. So it's a big undertaking, but I think it'll be like, it's super important to make sure that's like in existence, also for the activation piece. Next slide. And so what can you expect this year? And I added the L0 next to it because again, we're not just focused on DAG only exclusively. And so we want to make sure that we increase our token exposure. We do that with, you know, how many wallets are available, people watching the token on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, et cetera, exposing it to broader technical communities as well. Those are people following us on GitHub and more people that are submitting like project submissions. Retention and engagement, that of course is about attendance in our worldwide events, and social reach, which can be measured in Lunar Crush scores or a variety of other ways. Something also that I think we absolutely need to do more of is cross-community collaborations. So not just focusing on our internal community at Constellation or even the ecosystem, the L0 ecosystem, but also communities outside of the Constellation ecosystem and linking up with them and creating this like compounding effect across the entire DLT space. And then there's also some additional exposure metrics that I do track, but it's more of like my secret sauce, so I won't say. But that's what you can come to expect from the community pod this year. And other than that, I will toss it over to Thomas.
You know, I want to, before Thomas goes on, I just want to say Altif has been an essential piece of this team, not only being a co-founder and being at my right-hand side in the early days, but has always had a keen sense on how communities operate, how to establish a voice, how to establish leadership, and has one of the most unique sets of skills that are in the crypto space. And so it's really exciting to see him take such a position here with this collective. So, Latif, thank you.
Thank
now
you,
for
Ben.
the product.
All right, thank you, Ben. Thank you for the intro, and I think from my perspective, that makes me humble. Yeah, so I'm Thomas. I'm the product lead for the product pod. Quick introduction: I've been working with Constellation in and out since December 2019. I've been being a project manager on mainnet, helping driving the mainnet to what we have today. And actually came back a while ago to well, basically the community voted me to become product lead. My experience comes from software agencies. In the last 6 years, I've been working with many different San Francisco-based agencies and product companies, but also product companies basically globally to have a go-to-market product, but also scale-upping, doing consulting around product. And that's basically why I'm here. But I'm not alone. Luckily, I could choose my advisors, and I brought Anna, and I think Anna is not unknown in the community, and also not in Constellation. She's currently working in Constellation as a technical project manager. She's incredibly valuable with her knowledge and how she looks at the crypto space and her perspective. Someone that I'm very, very grateful to have in my advisor row. And I brought in Ziv. Ziv is someone, is a product manager by trade, someone who is, I think, one of the greatest product managers I ever worked with, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna hear from him soon. But we'll talk a little bit more about that probably in a couple of months or so. That said, I'm super happy that these people are my advisors. My pod consists of designers, software engineers, people who know a lot about the crypto space, and I'm, again, very humbled to work with. Ben, can you go to the next slide, please? And as of that, of course, we want to have a strategy for what we're doing with product. So the Constellation Product Pod research and develops key technical solutions that will serve and grow the Constellation ecosystem. So for us, it's very important that we're fitting where we need to be. So we want to make products that fit the ecosystem well. So we're not necessarily going to follow the market always. We want to follow what we're doing within the ecosystem. And our process allows us to prioritize and execute on features that will scale our organization and user base while highlighting key aspects of our ecosystem. What we find really important is that, again, we build features that make sense, that are transparent, and that are for you, the community, and are serving you and helping you. And we're not want to build features that there's a famous saying in software that when you build features, you only build, like you build for 80% and only 20% is going to be used. We want to build features that are being used for 80% or maybe even a 90 or 100%. That's the goal, and that's what I love to see. Ben, next slide, please. So what does product do? And for the software engineers and the product managers under you, you probably, this is known territory. So you know, if you want to discuss that later on Telegram, I'm happy to discuss that with all of you. But for all of you who aren't in the software industry and the product management industry, let me allow me to at least explain that a little bit. So we're driving product development from conception to launch, and that means that by conception, we mean that we're thinking about what kind of products make sense, and then we have a task force that thinks about that concept and figures out if it actually makes sense. And the task force consists of marketing, product leads, engineering, design, to ensure that when we actually start working on it, when we launch, we launch a product that makes sense to all of you, and it's not like some crazy idea in our head. The other side is that we want to lay out a roadmap for the Constellation ecosystem product line. So that means that in the future, you can expect from us a stable release process where you can say, oh, that's great. Like we know what's coming up next and what kind of features we can expect from the wallet or any other products that we're going to release. For us, it's very important that we're transparent and honest towards you, because you're driving us as a community, you're driving us and driving our features for a very big part of what we're doing. Streamlining and scaling the product development operations. What is very important, and again, like for the software engineers and the operational managers here, you want to be scalable. My expertise lies in scaling operations, making sure that even though when we scale, we're still predictable and you can still understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. And the other side is coaching and training your teams for being product-oriented practices. This basically goes into scaling, right? Like we have great advisors, we have great people like Frank and like Hedrom and Anna and Ziv. But the more we grow as an ecosystem, we need more capable people, and we want to make sure that we can scale. And in order to scale, we need to train the people that we want to have in our ecosystem to ensure that the ecosystem grows in the way that we believe it should grow. Ben, can you move on to the next slide, please? All right, so what to expect from us? Definitely a roadmap visibility to the end of the year and beyond. Like that sounds really big, but you need to think of that in a way that our roadmap is going to tie into the Constellation roadmap that Ben shared a while ago. Our products need to make sense towards that roadmap, and we will share that probably somewhere in July and August to give you an understanding what you can expect in which quarter. In that matter, we're also going to introduce a stable and recurring release schedule. And by that, I mean that every X amount of weeks, we're pushing out a release where new features are going to be released, where you can expect new features or bug fixes or design fixes or new ideas to be deployed for you, the community, and for our clients. And the last thing, which is something that is personally very dear to me as well, is a more in-depth overview of our products with reviews and articles from our tech writer. And to give you an idea, when I started in crypto around 2-3 years ago, it was very hard for me to figure out baseline information. And now, like, we're in that position with Constellation and with the ecosystem that we would love to educate others. So we onboarded a tech writer that will help us basically from a very low basic level, give an understanding of what is the Hypergraph, what is blockchain, why are we building a wallet, why is Stargazer so awesome. We want to market that to the world, and we market that to everyone who is outside of the crypto space. So that when you tell your parents or your friends, and you're like, hey, we have a great fucking Stargazer wallet, and I'm not going to tell you about it. Here's a bunch of articles. Just read them, because it will allow you to understand why this is so great and why you need to step in. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah, and to my note with Thomas, it's been fun. I can't believe it's already been 2 years in working with Thomas. I've had an absolute blast in working with Thomas. He shows up with such great attitude and has really, he hears the needs of business and applies that to the technologist, which is an amazing skill set to have and something that's so essential for an infrastructure technology company to have. So we're very lucky to have his mind and his ability to navigate vast perspectives. And it will be fun to see how the business pod relates to the product pod and the community pod to really kind of showcase our strength and make it easy for new people to build on us and really amplify our ecosystem. And I think it goes without saying that these pods are really kind of the heart of this organization. It's allowing us to expand at a rapid pace. And what's so unique about our ecosystem in conjunction with others or in comparison to others is our ability to make it easy to navigate a cryptocurrency company. Or an ecosystem. We want to make it easy to build a business and use that framework for you to build a business on a blockchain. It shouldn't be as complicated as it has been over the past 5 to 6 years. That is where we are going to crush the competition. It isn't just about market cap, it's about how do you navigate this for long-term growth. And that is where we are uniquely positioned. Furthermore, I will say that these individuals, just like the core team, they have all rolled their sleeves up and gotten their hands dirty. They are not just talking heads. They're not just philosophers. They're not just thought leaders. They are actually doing the work and figuring this out, managing expectations, building things, writing out stuff, the deep work, the high level work. And so we're really fortunate to have all these individuals take time out of their day to really build with us. So I can't thank you all enough. I mean, this presentation was awesome. In many ways, it was the first time hearing this from each of you. And what can the community expect going forward? You're going to see these individuals a lot more. They're going to show up a lot more. They're going to talk through things and articulate our ecosystem as it sees fit from their pod and their perspective. And you're going to see how our solutions all kind of revolve around these perspectives. So that pretty much concludes our Hypergraph hour. This is probably one of my favorite. It was like heartwarming for me to hear. Yes.
Ben Jorgensen, sorry, real quick. I was just going to say, and all three of the pods can always use more help. And we are building up the Stardust Collective, the internal community at Stardust. We're scaling that up as well. So you don't need to be necessarily like a lead at one of the pods, but we are always looking for more people. So if you think you have some knowledge and want to leave an impact across the entire Hypergraph ecosystem, doesn't have to be with Constellation. If you really want to get involved with Greenheart or Alchemy or Gitbox or something like that, send an email and I'll get back to you. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Thanks, Altif. That was awesome. Yeah, these guys have access to us 24/7. They know these are my lifelines. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this. This was an awesome Hypergraph hour, and I'm excited to see this whole thing grow. It makes me really happy, gives me chills. So thanks, guys.